Hogan, is Counselor Bay back? Looks like Counselor Driscoll's on. Counselor Paniagua. Just wait a second for Counselor Bay or Counselor Carney.
You already said my name, Counselor.
Ah, there you go. Okay, welcome.
Said my name first.
I did, but I didn't know you were. Did I? I didn't see you. Got that light. All right, so we can start this finance committee meeting. It looks like we have 8 items. The first bunch are with Dave Clifford for assessment. Dave, do you want to walk through those 6 items?
Council, this is Evan. I don't see Dave on here. I'm going to give him a call right now. You may want to start with Martha because I see she's on already.
All right, Martha, do you want to take your 2?
Sure. Let's start with the parking amnesty. Shall I share my screen and show you what I'm looking at?
Good.
Okay. So we have 246,000 tickets where we have outstanding parking tickets with a balance that that we have name and address for. So there's our pool totaling 19.4 million in outstanding ticket fees. Of that, almost 3.8 is the violation amount. The New York State surcharge we would collect with the Amnesty program as well, and we get to keep half of that. Half goes to New York. And the late fees are the part that the customer gets the break on. So moving down to the section on the revenue projections, in the budget, in the 21 budget, we estimated that we would get $1 million. So that is based on, or backing into it here, that would require a 20% response rate. So we would get 758,000, 759,000 in the violation fees. We would get to keep half of the 652,000 paid New York State surcharge for a total of 978,000. So that's based on a 20% response rate. Obviously, the numbers go down a little bit for a 15% response rate would net us 733,000, and a 10% 489,000. The last column here is the corresponding late fees that would not be collected for those tickets that were paid under the Amnesty program. But you'll see that this leaves, if we collect this this $1 million here, and we forfeit these 2.4, almost 2.5 million in fees, that still leaves 10 million left in late fees that and plenty of violation amount and half of surcharge, lots left on the table after the amnesty is over. And our next step after that is to begin to refer these out to a third-party collection agency, and that'll be part of the materials that we present to customers, so that there's an incentive besides being booted to take advantage of the amnesty. And so in the legislation letter, the terms would be eligibility from the amnesty period would run from September 8th through the 25th. Another week or so longer than it ran when they did it in 2003. let's see. We would have people, we would do it while the city is, obviously, while City Hall is still closed, so that we don't have a mob scene of potentially germy people. So we'll, so people can pay online, pay by phone, pay at the Dropbox, or mail it in. We're going to have on the city website a database that the API team is creating for me that people can search based on either their plate number or their address or name, and find the nitty-gritty detail on their outstanding tickets that are part of the Amnesty program. That's not going to be in the notice that we send them, because it'd be pages, it's not manageable. Some people have a ton of tickets.
Okay, so I'll just interrupt. I'll just say what the 5 items in the letter are really quick, which are the term. So it's going to be from September 8th to September 25th. The qualifications, so it's for any parking ticket before September 8th, 2020. The payment has to be the amount of the actual original ticket. You just lose all the fines and penalties. You can pay it the way you pay your taxes, it seems like. And then I don't understand this conditioned upon the approval of the chief judge of the city court of Syracuse. What's that part?
That's because some of these tickets, it's a pretty small percentage. I want to say somewhere in the neighborhood of 3,000 tickets are, they predate the Parking Violations Bureau. And before the Parking Violations Bureau had the powers that it has now, those belonged with the city court judge. So we've got to get her blessing on this as well.
Okay, I see. Are there other questions from committee members?
Your assumptions of response, are they based on the times we tried this before?
Yeah, good question. I don't know what the response rate was in 1996, but in 2003, it was 10%. So we're hoping to do a little better by, modern means, more availability of communications, and so hoping to do better than that, and leaving the window open a little bit longer.
How many cars do we boot a year anyways, Martha? Do you know what?
Oh, that's a great question. And I don't know it off the top of my head, but I'll get that for you. So we won't be booting during the amnesty. That will be another little carrot to say, we'll chill for a little bit and then resume again right after.
Could you break it down geographically where you boot to? Is that possible?
Yeah, I think so.
Like I would like to see how many, like downtown as opposed to like, the north side or something.
Yeah, I can do that.
Thanks, Martha.
Sure.
Councilor Rudd, I have a question, if I may.
Yes, sir.
Martha, you mentioned that this would, after the amnesty, would be turned over to a third party for collection purposes.
Right.
What's the conditions of that in terms of percentage that they would get versus the city?
This is Frank Kaliva, the city's chief administrative officer. Auditor, we're still in the process of negotiating that. We have one local company that's very interested in the business, and we'd rather go with a local company. So we're likely to test the collectability, and then based on that, begin to do an RFP and then negotiate those terms. Those terms range widely depending on what the collection agency sees as the collectability. So it can go from 10% to, I've seen it as high as 33%. So that's yet to be negotiated.
I appreciate that, and that's why I raised the question, is because there is such a discrepancy between different agencies that offer it up and conditions and so on and so forth. It's not always advantageous necessarily to the city in past experience.
Yeah, agreed. Although a $12 million receivable sitting on the books isn't advantageous either. So there's a compromise in there somewhere. We got to make sure that we find it.
Come to us for an approval of a contract.
The legislation, is the council.
Of course. Yes.
Third-party collection.
I'm sorry.
What did you say, Councilor Hogan?
I said that I think Frank already answered my question. They would come to us for a contract for an indeterminate amount of time at some point when they hooked up with the outfit that would collect the fees, correct?
Absolutely. What our first step is to, you had already approved us before COVID to provide a small sample of the data to the one of the local, or the local really, agency that's expressed interest for them to determine the collectability. So they just go through the quality of the data. To Martha's point, we've got a significant number that don't have addresses, and they determine whether and how much it would cost to skip trace, and then they figure all that in, and then they'll give us an idea, and then we'll take it to RFP and obviously bring it to the council for final approval.
Thanks, Frank.
Frank, has the one firm locally done business with the city previously?
They've not. They are relatively new, but growing rapidly, very large. They're a division of a large city employer that started the business, the collection business, for their own purposes, and are now offering the services to others.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Councilor Rudd.
Committee members, are we okay moving the amnesty forward?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So we can move that item forward. And Martha, if you want to do your second item, which I believe is the parking rate increases. And I would just reference, I'm not sure if, I think you just opened it. I also shared this with the committee members ahead of time if councilors want to open it in their email, but Martha has it open. So thank you. Go ahead.
Sure. This is, okay, the screen shows you 44 different types of parking violations, and we are targeting 14 in particular that largely are focused on safety, health and safety. So, and I color coded these just to kind of to make it a little easier to read this this spreadsheet. So I'll just walk you through before I even get to the colors. The violation amount is that's the base for the particular parking violation. The next column is the New York State surcharge, which we talked about. We get to keep half of that. So the current total of the ticket is this third column here, and the increases we're proposing. I'm sorry. Okay, I thought there was a question. Okay, the increases we're proposing are on the base violation amount. So here's the reason code. I'll come back to that in a minute. Here's the total of the current violation amount, the proposed increase. Here's the new violation amount, then the new ticket total after you add in the New York State surcharge. And these next columns compare how we would be after the increase with Rochester, Albany, and Buffalo. So in a few cases, we're higher than the other cities. In most, we're in the middle of the pack. So let me go back to the particular tickets that we wanted to focus on. We're trying to prevent bad behavior, prevent the behaviors that are dangerous to the city public. The first two are abuses of the handicap parking designated spaces. So those are currently 75, and we're proposing to raise it to 100 as the violation amount. So the ticket amount would go from 105 to 130. This far column here, I guess I didn't get that far when I was reviewing the columns before. Based on this increase, that would be from the two of these combined, about 45 to 46,000 in additional revenue. The next category is 4 different types of tickets that or violations that impact the ability of emergency vehicles and city service vehicles to get through our streets and to get to the people in need. So odd even parking violations, and particularly in the winter here is in this category. Obstructing traffic, fire hydrant blocking, and blocking or parking in a fire lane. Those 4 rather ticket types, if the increases are approved, would result in another 553,000 in revenue. The third category is protecting people in the right of way and waiting for public transportation. So cars parked blocking a driveway, blocking a crosswalk, parked on the sidewalk, parked between the sidewalk and the curb, and parked at a bus stop. Collectively, the proposed increases on those would result in another in $41,000 of revenue. The fourth category is most of our base ticket amounts. The violation amount were started at $25 or a few were higher. These 3 were lower than that, $10 and $15. And so these 3 were targeted largely to bring them up to our other base rate here, the base rate of $25. And also the odd even contributes to the safe passage of emergency and city vehicles as well. So that category would bring in a fairly substantial amount of $444,000. These numbers here were based on a full year, and we're proposing to start this October 1st. So we would have to scale that, knock a 25% off. So for a total of roughly 750,000 in additional revenue for these targeted increases. And I'll pause for questions.
All the changes would take effect October 1st.
Yeah, I think that's cleanest, simplest. Yes. And it also can be part of the communication of the Amnesty program, that this is also something that happens when the Amnesty program is over with. We resume voting, we've got higher ticket prices for particular violations that we want to discourage.
Okay, I think we can open it up for questions from anybody. I would like to say, Martha, I think this is very helpful. Like when I got the call that we were going to do this, and then I looked at my email, all the questions that the people were asking me were already answered. You listed all the violations, not just the ones we're changing. You showed totally transparent with the current amount, the state surcharges, the increase, the new totals, and how we compare it to Rochester, Albany, and Buffalo, and then giving the number of tickets issued recently without us having to ask. I think that we appreciate that a lot. So I appreciate this, the work that you did to prepare for this.
Well, great. Thank you.
You're welcome. Other counselors, questions?
Martha, this is really an outstanding presentation. Excellent. I'm totally supportive of what Councilor Rudd just said about this. This is really good. It would be interesting, and I don't even know if you could do it, if we had another column up at the top or a column on the side that would for these first 16 violations would be number of tickets issued by city police officers and number of tickets issued by CSOs. That would be terrific. But otherwise, it's great. Can we get that info at any point, you think?
Yes, but when you say CSO, do you, you're
Community
including
service
the parking?
officers and the parking, everybody who is a sworn officer who can issue a ticket.
Yeah, I can write that down.
Okay, that would be great.
It's so that I don't bombard you. You're interested in particular with the fees that we're targeting for increase or overall?
No, the top ones that you have.
Okay.
You know,
Okay.
I mean, if you can do it overall, that would be great too.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think if you do it for all of, if I don't know, once you have it, if you can do it for all of them. I think we're just saying, I think what Councilor Hogan is asking is who is actually writing the tickets? Is it police officers or is it like traffic enforcement agents or whatever the category of title?
Okay, and there's also, sheriff's office and the SHAKE team, which are volunteers with the sheriff office that write the handicap tickets, amongst others. So yeah, I can do that. I can do that.
Yeah, thank you, Martha.
Sure.
We got to get Councilor Hogan to be a SHAKE member, shake people up.
Especially when it comes to handicap parking, that is something I can't countenance sometimes. I've gotten a few arguments with people about that, so.
Yeah. Can do.
Other questions for Martha? All right, are we okay moving the parking rate increase forward?
Yes, I am. Great job.
Yes.
Okay, sounds good. Me as well. So we'll move that forward. And with our last 8 minutes, thank you, Martha. Is Dave Clifford on now?
Yes, good afternoon, councilors.
Hey, feel free to go through your 6 items.
All right, I hope it's in the same order as you have them. We had a few properties that we had stipulated to reductions in assessment back during the Board of Assessment review, and through some clerical errors, those stipulations never made it to the roll. So we want to correct the roll. 3930-40 East Tennessee, 1728 Burnett Avenue, 817 to 31 James Street, 3300 James Street, and 929 Tyson Place. That's the reason for those changes. Then we had 3 more, 1015 Wadsworth Street. Taxpayer had not provided enough information at the time, so the exemption was taken off. So we want to put that back on because they did deserve the exemption. 600 to 08 West Genesee Street. The amount of the exemption, the percentage, was changed and it didn't make the roll. And 137 to 39 Milford Drive, the taxpayer came in and provided more information about the medical expenses. So we changed that exemption as well. In addition, there was another property. This is the Temple Concord. We had initially denied that exemption due to the fact that the property was for sale, and it was our understanding at the time that the property was no longer being used. We have since been informed that the property is still being used by the congregation, and we want to reinstate that exemption, at least, I guess, for the time being until the property is under contract to sell, but it has not closed.
Okay.
Commissioner, what's the address on that property again?
910 Madison Street.
910 Madison Street on the corner of University.
Gotcha. Okay.
Then there are 3 other items, which are the leases on the community centers. We want to renew those leases. Those are 5-year leases, and they've run up, and we'd like to renew them with the community centers. They're only for $1 a year, but it basically protects both the community center and the city to be in an active lease rather than month to month. Are there any questions?
Those are all fine with me. Other committee members, are those items good to go?
Yeah, those are good for me.
Okay. Thank you.
Good job there, Dave.
Was that all that you had, Dave?
I believe so, yes.
David, you got one more. The one that didn't make it on the last agenda. It's
Oh, okay.
307 and 309 Holland Street.
Right. Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, I thought that had already gone on. This is basically it's a confusing thing. A property that we sold to, I believe it was Home Headquarters. At the time, there was a house on the structure on the property. And we had put a reverter clause in to the deed back in 2001 that said if it hadn't been renovated within a certain period of time, it would revert back to the city. In the interim, the house was demolished, and it was sold from Home Headquarters to Habitat for Humanity. The problem is that Habitat really wasn't able to use the site for one of their projects, so they want to turn the property over to the land bank. The land bank won't accept it with this reverter clause still in there, and what we're trying to do is extinguish the reverter clause so that they'll have clear title.
I feel like we
Deja
talked
vu,
about
right?
this one in the past, but maybe not. Go ahead, Councilor Bay.
This is like deja vu, wasn't it? It's like
Yeah.
a couple weeks ago.
So I think we're good to go on that one.
Yeah, no problem.
Yes,
Thank you.
yes. Thanks, Dave.
Right.
Commissioner.
Anybody else got any questions or anything for anybody on the line? Nope. Okay. I guess I would just flag the for finance committee members. I think we're going to discuss the early retirement thing tomorrow in the education committee standing meeting briefly, but by and large, the questions, the data I've had answered. But if you're interested, we'll discuss it more, I guess, in that meeting if you want to join. Otherwise, we can wrap this up. So thank you, everybody, for your time.
All right, appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Rod, all 8 items, good to go?
All good to go. Thank you.
Thank you.